All right, folks. So today we speak about love, two types of love. We've been speaking about two types of fear / reverence / awe. And now we speak about love. The truth is, there are two sides of a coin, two different sides of the same coin, love and fear. If you truly love somebody, then you also have a fear of being disconnected from them, fear of being separate, disconnected from someone that you love. So both things really ultimately come together. Now let us understand this concept of love. And as a result, by the way, all you need is love is incorrect, because you need to have the concept of, again, fear, reverence, respect, and awe, which is the highest level in this sense of when we speak about the fear. Fear, at the end, is not of punishment. Fear is of disconnect, not wanting to be disconnected. But that's what we spoke about in several classes previously. Now we go into the concept of love. So the Alter Rebbe begins, there's two types, and he begins with the higher level that's called Ava B'Tainugim, which means a love of delights. What does it mean? It means to delight in God. You have no quest. You're not seeking. You're not yearning. Most of love songs are about the yearning to be connected, the longing for the connection. But this is not about a longing. It's not about a yearning. It is about having it, being connected. Love of delights means that you delight with an ecstasy in God, for no other reason, and for no over desire, for no goal, but just the connection itself. Not you're desiring again to cleave or to yearn, because to desire to cleave and to yearn is the concept of not having it, but you have it already. I guess if you were to express this in maybe in a much lower level of it's like when you have the thing that you're desiring, so you're not seeking it, you've got it. So here it's delighting in God, not because God did something for me, you're delighting in him, not because I need something from him, you're delighting, but delighting in just who God is. Which, by the way, in human terms, I suggest that this is something we rarely achieve. We usually do not delight in the person themselves, but something that person does that makes them delightful to me, right? Or that, I appreciate them and love them for that. The person makes me feel good. The person, is just very enjoyable. So it's what I'm getting rather than what they are. So this level is a delight, an ecstasy, a fire, a flame of just being and having that connection. Again, in human terms, most love songs, or almost all love songs, are about seeking, yearning, trying to find that love. Because again, I don't suggest we experience this really too often. And the Alter Rebbe explains like this: this kind of delighting in God is really a gift from heaven. You can't achieve it on your own. There's no way to get there. Well, I shouldn't say that. That all of the other things that we spoke about, fear, reverence, respect, awe of God, and the lower level of love, which we'll get into shortly, are all prerequisites to have in your life in order then to be able to get this love of delights, of delighting in God. And this comes from a saying of the rabbis in the sages in the Talmud, that on the simple meaning, a simple meaning and a deeper meaning, it is the way of a man to seek out a woman. That's the way of the world. And that's, so the simple meaning is literally, it's the way of a man to seek out a woman. By the way, and this is all parenthetical, this has got nothing to do with what the Alter Rebbe says here in Tanya today, but just to give us a little idea of that. Why would that be? I mean, we see that in the world more so, and I would even suggest that, going out on a limb over here, and some of you might not like this, but when the woman seeks out the man, that's not normal. That's not the norm. That's a corruption of womanhood. Now, it's a lot of corruption, a lot of of the soul of people. So this is just one of them. But it is the way of man. You know why? Because in creation, the woman comes from the man. Eve, Chava, came from the side of Adam. Surgery was taking place, a piece of him was taken away, and from there she was built, and she was made. So a man is seeking that which he's missing. There's a piece of him that's missing to make him whole. And therefore, it's the way of a man to seek out a woman. That has to do with also the qualities of what a man is, as opposed as male, as opposed to the female qualities. So that's a simple meaning. But the Alter Rebbe takes this onto a different level. He says the concept of male is love. The concept of female is fear / awe, reverence, respect. There's a lot that I can go into explain how that is so, and I'll just briefly explain that. Well, again, based on this idea, it's the male quality to seek out that which is missing. So therefore, the seeking out is wanting to be whole, and that is reaching out to embrace that which is missing. What that is the concept of love, right? To embrace, to bind, and to be connected to. The woman symbolizes fear of God. And by nature, a woman is much more God-fearing, much more a person of reverence than the male quality. And we see that very much so. Again, there's a lot to go into here, and the Alter Rebbe doesn't discuss this at all. He's just saying these as a fact over here. And the reason why he's saying this, and perhaps later we can go more into it, but right now I just want to give the teachings over, and then we can have discussion more about that afterwards with pleasure. But the point of this is that it's love that follows fear, reverence. That is the point that the Alter Rebbe wants to make over here. What's alluded to over here in this teachings, that it's a prerequisite to have the fear, reverence, awe of God, in order to get this kind of love, which is the avarabba, this magnanimous love that is a gift that comes afterwards. It's a gift. And by the way, when man finds that love that he's seeking, it's a great gift from heaven. as we see today. I think I read a statistic that in the Jewish community, non-Orthodox, it was a study that was done, non-Orthodox, non-committed Jews of an Orthodox nature, marriage between 25 and 54-year-olds is 50% only. Only 50%. Anyways, that's a whole different topic. I don't know whether you can discuss that later, but I want to go over there. With pleasure, we can discuss this and debate it later on. So the point that the author wants to bring out over here, this kind of love is something that comes only after the first level of fear, reverence, the second level of awe, and the first level of love. They have to come first. Why? Because this is a gift from above. So he explains, why is this such a gift? Because this is a bond with God, to delight in God, where there is no self-awareness. All there is the sense of the delight of God, of what God, not what he's doing for you, not that he gave you a beautiful sunny day. Look, oh God, I'm delighting in you now. You're not delighting in God, you're delighting in his sunny day. Right? It's like the guy says, I love fish. No, you don't love fish, because if you love fish and when you went fishing, you put the fish back into the lake. You don't love fish, you love the taste of fish on your palate. That's what you love. You know, if you love fish, put it back into the lake once you went fishing. Right? But you love the taste of fish on your palate. That's what you love. Fine, it's okay. Well, we'll get into that in a moment, that kind of love. So this love is delighting in not what God does for you, right, in your life, but you're delighting in God himself. This comes at a level of, from the world of Atzilus, the world that is the emanation of God, that's where this love originates. That world, there is no separateness between that which exists in that world. There is no separateness between whatever exists in that world, the souls of those worlds, and God. So a person who has this form of love doesn't have a self-aware, oh, I'm loving this. You know, you feel, look what I'm so glad I got this feeling, right? That's self-awareness. That's separateness. That's about having something, not being bonded and connected. Which is, that's how far away we are from this kind of love, and we'll see. So there's no self-awareness, because on that level, from where it comes from, this love of God, and it's a gift again from above, is you've reached to such a level in your divine connection that you don't sense your independent existence of God. And therefore all you are is experiencing that delight. I don't know what this means. I can tell you the words, I can explain the concept, but to say, we may have had a little glimmer here and there of something that might be similar to it, but not this. We haven't had it. This is just, again, for very lofty souls who have really worked on themselves to such a degree that, again, they've attained reverence for God, awe for God, and this first level of love, which we're going to get to now. So that, I hope that's clear. Well, as clear as we can make it. The Alter Rebbe was kind enough to give us this teaching, so give us an idea of the divine service that there is, that is way beyond our capacity at this moment. Let's go to something maybe that we can achieve. And this is called Avas Olam. Avas Olam means the love, a worldly love, or a love that comes from the world, as opposed to this first one, the higher level, love of delights. It is coming from the world of Atzilus, which is the world of emanation. It's not a world of creation. It's beyond creation. But this comes from the creative worlds. And therefore it comes from, in creation, an understanding of what is creation, right? And in that understanding of creation, there's three elements that we need to understand about God's presence in creation. One, that God fills the world, just as my soul fills my body, and I can understand the makeup of my soul as it fills the body with the intelligence of the soul, the emotions of the soul, and so on. I can grasp that. So there is the way God permeates and gives vitality to everything within the world, that we can have an understanding. Then there is the way God transcends the world, Saivev, encompasses the world, transcendent, not limited to any aspect of creation. But then there's even something greater, that the entire creation is completely nullified to God. Completely nothing else but Him. Right? Nothing else. He is the only true reality. He's the only true reality. Okay. Now, when we have that awareness, when we have that understanding, and everybody's going to have it on their level, and those who study Tanya, we already have some kind of, teachings about this. We've learned this at length, and we're going to learn it at much greater length in the second part of Tanya, understanding the power of Creator within creation. But we have some of that. As a result of this awareness, of this contemplation, this meditation, the attribute of love towards God then will be about divesting ourselves from the external aspect of how we perceive creation. So how do we perceive creation? Well, like that fish, right? I love the taste of fish on my palate. I love the beauty of what I perceive as a beautiful scene. My eyes like that. My palate enjoys the taste on its, the taste buds that I have on my palate. That's what I enjoy. I love the feel of something that is soft and delicate, perhaps. Um, I love a certain type of sound, a certain type of music that is, touches me, and so on and so forth. So it doesn't have to be just merely physical. It can be even of a spiritual nature. But I divest of the external reality of those things. What does it mean, external reality? Because the external fact of a taste on something in my palate, or even that which I see visually with my naked eye, that I see something, well, there's something much deeper there. And what is that? The reality of God that animates it. The truth of God that's behind it, which is completely, compared to the physical reality, no comparison. Incomparable. Infinitely so incomparable. So imagine how much I enjoy the taste on my palate compared to the reality of that God is in that physical food that my palate enjoys. It's incomparable to the connection that I can have to not the taste, but to the reality of that food. God, who animates it, who brings it into being, who's the true reality of that food. And that's what I'm seeking. That's what I seek. So what do I want? Do I want to have the physical or even spiritual connection to something that is external? Because spiritual doesn't mean it's godly. It can just be, the experience that I'm seeking to have, and the pleasure from that experience I want to have, like good music. Or is the good music that you recognize that there's something deeper behind that good music? And what is that? The bond that there is, and the connection that there is to God through it, or of it, in it, because that is true reality. And this is what it means in Psalms that King David says, whom I have in heaven to love other than God. that there's nothing upon earth that I desire with you. So here's the difficulty. The alternative says you really can't have both things at the same time. You can't truly want to have the bond that you can have through the reality of things in this world, and at the same time want to have the external connection to it. It's either you're connected and bonded to the externality of the experience, the event, the physical thing that you're engaged with, or you want what its deeper reality is, which is the bond and the connection to God. So, for example, to divest yourself of the external means that that's not what I'm interested in. That's not my desire. To be bonded and connected and to feel the pleasure of the food, or the pleasure of the beautiful scene that it gives to me in my physical being and perhaps my animal soul, right? But what I want is to be bonded and to connected to the deeper true reality of what's going on at the very same time, which is that God's animating this. He's the true reality of this, and that's what I want to be connected to. Now, does that mean we don't eat? No, it doesn't mean we don't eat. We eat, right? Of course, for a Jew, it means eating kosher, right? But in the eating, I want to connect to the deeper, true reality of what this, engagement is, and that is to God through this. And that's not such a simple thing for us to achieve. I know my palate enjoys good food. So I'm not going to fool myself and think that when I'm eating, I'm really, have the love of God at that time. It's a work in progress. Not so simple. Am I divesting myself of that pleasure? So I don't know if, that's a work. We got to work on that. It's not going to come simply. But that being said, there are many different levels in this. It's not a black and white, and we shouldn't make this black and white. I think what's the first level in this in our lives to make this real for us is, sometimes the litmus test is not when you have something, but when you don't have it. How much, So if the food was taken away from you, you're okay. Right? Like, whatever. Or like, you couldn't continue the meal and you were eating the meal and you're perfectly okay. It means you're not vested in the food, right? You're not invested in the external thing. If that piece of clothing that feels so good and makes you look so great, right? You didn't have it, you're also okay. Now let's take it on the positive side. That's the negative side. The positive side would be that through this food, I can actually serve another person. And that's a mitzvah. So I see that the food is an opportunity for me to have a connection to God. How? By connecting to another person and serving them the good food. And you've got a little bit. You're satisfied. You're happy. Because it's not about the food. So if you go out, if you're going and here you can't go to a restaurant over here and have lunch with somebody because of COVID over here in Montreal. But if you were to go for lunch, and whatever you had, it doesn't matter, because it's about the bond that you're going to make with this person. And why do you want to make that bond with this person? Well, ultimately, maybe because that person's in your life and God needs you to make that bond with them and to make it a deeper bond. So that's the love. That can be the love of God that's expressed through the bond that you're making with that person, and you're being there for them, in whatever manner that you can be. So it's not that you can't have lunch with somebody. The question is, am I having the lunch and I'm just looking for, wow, I haven't had that I haven't gone to this place and haven't had that food in a long time, and I'm really excited about it. So you're excited about the externality of that thing and not about the bond that there is. So you like the fish, the palate. You don't love fish. You like the taste it gives you on your palate, right? And it's got nothing to do with the love of God, obviously. So, well, I love God that He gave it to me. So you don't love God. You love what He gives you in your life. Very big difference. Very big difference. So here we need to divest ourselves from the externality, and I'm speaking to myself now, not to anybody here but me, because this is not a simple thing, right? To appreciate the true reality, because again, our eyes, see and are attracted. Our palates are, our mouth watery because, we want to have that thing in our, that taste in our lives, and I don't have to go further. We all get it, right? We all know that in our lives. The Alter Rebbe says now, we may not actually feel the desire to the bond, but if we have the mental awareness of this, that's also something remarkable. The Alter Rebbe concludes in today's class. That's a remarkable achievement. That if we can have the mental awareness, and when you're sitting down to eat, right, which I will do after I finish learning with everybody, just to have the mental awareness that it's not about the attraction to the taste. It's not even about that this gives me energy that I can serve God. There's an awareness that I have here that this is divesting it from that through this I can have a connection, a bond with God. I'm bonded with Him because He's the true reality of this food. Or He's the true reality of this experience, right? So food is like the greatest and simplest thing that, in a human level of the things that we have pleasure and enjoy and desire, and how that can be, again, there's so many layers and levels, even if we just begin with that mental awareness. And yeah, I ate the food and I enjoyed it. Oh, that's okay. Don't worry about it. There's nothing to be down on yourself on this, because we're a work in progress. We're BIT is Bain Indian training, right? So the mental awareness of that itself, by the way, that itself is the best. That the consequence of this, that the benefit of this, and this is not what the Alter Rebbe is speaking about, and that's not what should be. Is this the best way to diet? This is the best way to be mindful with your food, right? That the food controls us usually, but here we're in control of it rather than it's in control of us. That is a great mastery. And that's a great accomplishment in our lives. Now that's the Alter Rebbe doesn't speak about this at all. This is, for people on our level, simple people, that we should be aware that this is amazing. Why? Because I'm just mindful that the true reality of this food, right, is God that's animating it. And therefore the true connection I want to have to this food is not to the external aspect of it, which is incomparably meaningless when you think about it. Just think about it for a moment. It's incomparably meaningless. A taste on your taste bud that's going to go away in seconds. Compared to the fact that through this you can have an awareness that the true reality of this is a bond and a connection with God. Again, if you're eating something that's kosher, if not kosher and you're Jewish, so then there's a bit of a difficulty that you can have this awareness, and it's got to be something kosher for a Jew, right? That's like, wow. That's infinitely greater, because the true, infinite, true reality of this physical thing, or even a spiritual experience, right? The spiritual experience of like feeling, feeling great in a spiritual moment, whether it's hearing music that is uplifting, right? Or you know, the Grand Canyon, and you're like moved, very moved. If there isn't, you're moved by the externality of it. If you think about it for a moment, that there's God that's animating this moment, and he's the true reality that's behind all of this. It's incomparable, that true reality, to the physical or even spiritual reality that I'm just attuned to with my senses. But I can have at least a mental awareness of that truth. And then that makes that connection and bond with God an infinite bond. Rather than just enjoying that sunrise, sunset, that beautiful moment that is momentarily there. That's very powerful. That's like, wow. This is an effort. It's not going to come simply, because the human condition will dictate otherwise. Human condition is going to dictate that I'm human and I've got five senses, and that's what, you know, moves me. And five senses doesn't mean just physical, because the hearing is more of the spirit, right? Music is more of the spirit. But and even seeing, you know, seeing an awesome, you know, experience of something. But again, what we're just seeing it is with the physical naked eye. The mind's eye has a perception that what's really behind all of this. That's remarkable. And we all have that capability in our lives. I know now that. Whew. We have. So I'm just going to look if there's any questions here. If we have anything, please, if you have questions, 2 question marks first, and then ask your question. So that way I can, and if you want to share a thought, like, so then write, I know now that, meaning what you know, what you learned today that has been added to your awareness and to your life. So Batya says, I know now that without fear and awe of Hashem, the first level of love is unattainable. This first level of love, or the higher level, the first level of love is selfish in the sense that we benefit from and aren't self-nullified. The second level of love is self-nullified. Well, yes, it's true, but this level that we just spoke about, there's also, I'm not completely nullified like in the world of Atzilus. I think that's what you mean, Batya, and it's very true. But there is something that's nullified, and that is that I'm not merely giving into my lower self, to my 5 senses, that needs to be my reality, right? That means it has to be my truth. Now that's going to be our reality, because we're you know, we're a work in progress. So that's going to be our reality. But the question is, how much is it our reality? How much are we ready to make a different reality? And that's what the Alter Rebbe is giving us the opportunity and giving us the know-how and the challenge, right? Batya.
Hi, Rabbi. Morning.
Good morning.
I also want to say thank you for also just speaking about it, about love, and how the prototype, how this is also actually like a prototype for marriage. I think that's a very important point that you made.
Thank you, actually. Thank you for sharing that. And with that, I'll segue to that. Yes, thank you very much, Batya. Right. Now, our first relationship is with God, because it always was and will always be. When we have that notion, and with our relationship with God, then our human relations will be in a similar manner. And that means that I divest myself of the needs that I have as a human being. And what's that? My senses. that dictates the relationship. So I see you. Oh, I like the way you look. So then, right, externally, I like the way you speak, the way I hear you, right, and so on and so forth. Um, and that is the external connection we have to the individual. Here we're talking about is a bond to something that's much deeper, much more profound. So the first place I will be in a husband-wife relationship, and a parent-child relationship, and also in a friend relationship. That my bond and connection to you goes beyond what I perceive from you externally, of how you look or even how you act. That's also how you act. The bond and the connection I have to you is to the core of you. Just like the core of the physical reality of the food is God, the core and the reality of the person is their soul. And I can connect and bond and feel attached to them on that soulful level. That is a remarkable way to connect to another. So when we can introduce that in our lives with God, then it'll be not so difficult to introduce that with our other relationships, which is a must. And so thank you very much, Batya, for bringing that up. It's a must, because then in the relationship, my neediness has been greatly reduced because I'm not connecting to you on just that external level. And therefore, I could be there for you and what you need, because I'm connecting and being bonded to the soulfulness of the individual. And soulfulness doesn't mean, they're beyond their intelligence, beyond their emotions. Now, that doesn't mean you don't appreciate someone's intelligence and teachings and someone's good, character qualities. Absolutely. We're not, that's also part of the soul makeup. But then there's even a deeper part, and that is to the quintessential, essential part of the soul itself. Yes, thank you. So Lisa, I know now that to have a delight in God, not because of the many things that he has done for me or what he may do for me, but simply purely for the connection, who he is, an awesome gift. Yeah, about to have, okay, wonderful. Rena has a question. If a man is looking for a woman to complete himself, what can a woman with desire for her bashert do to be open for this bond? Oh, wow. Okay, that's a great question, Rena. That's a whole open, discussion. Receptive for the connection. Now, by the way, when we speak about it, and just to bring that now, that ties in with what the Bachi brought in. When someone is looking for somebody, right, not to have a relationship, but to get married, that's the Jewish way. We're not interested in relationships. We're interested in marriage. You need to go out with the person in order to find out, right? And to go out if this is the person for me, if this is Mr. Right, Mrs. Right, or Miss Right to become Mrs. Right, right? So you need to go out. And yes, you need to know about that character of the person. Is that the character qualities that you want? You're not going to be bound to the essence of that soul until you are under the chuppah and you become two halves of one soul that are reunited. But till that point, you need to make certain that this is someone that would be appropriate. They have the same values, the same aspirations in life, and character qualities, of kindness and goodness, and all these kind of things are absolutely necessary. So that's what both sides need to be looking for. And then the essential bond only comes after marriage, not before. Love comes after marriage, not before. There might be an infatuation before, but that's not love. That's an infatuation. Puppy love. That's not real. Real comes after there's a two halves of one soul being reunited, because love means a bond, means there's an essential bond. Now you can love your fellow Jew as you love yourself as a Jew. You can love another as a Jew on the soul level. That's true. But to be the other half of my soul, to be that part for me, to have that part that's missing, that was taken from me, right? It was taken from Adam, from his side, and Eve, Chava, was built from that, made from that. To have that part that, that's missing of me, that's only after you're married. Before that, you don't. So that's when the bond takes place, and therefore you are now not just married, but two reunited as two halves of one soul. And there's so much more on that to, of course, to discuss. I hope Rena that brought. So the receptiveness of looking for, is this the right one for me? Is this what I need in my life to create a home, a place where there can be Jewish life, for a Jew, right? And mitzvah and all that. Deborah, is this love right? Is this live right now? Yes. It's also recorded. It is live and recorded. It's on Facebook, so afterwards you can get it as recorded. And it's also on my YouTube station, Tanya Rabbi. Denise, I missed your question, Denise, or could you please, Denise, if you have a question, can you please restate it? Oh, here it is. No, I don't see it. Okay. Vilma, Marcy, Crystal, anybody? Crystal, I see your hand up. Okay. Go ahead.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning, Crystal.
I didn't have a question, but more of a comment. It was the explanation that you had of these two loves also relating to marriage really resonates with me, because I noticed that I was searching for someone and never found it. I said, you know what, let me give up. Let me leave it alone. And I left it alone. And when I started my Orthodox conversion, my bashert came out of nowhere. We speak on Zoom, and I don't get to see him, but it's the calmest I've ever been, because I have no doubt now. And it's funny that this long distance relationship gives more comfort and relaxation, and anxiousness is gone, rather than being very anxious. And I noticed that Hashem brought that. When Hashem came first, that came. And it's just no worries. And now you've explained why.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. Beautiful. Beautiful. All right. Anybody else? Did I miss anybody? Joyce, my dad told me not to try to get married, as no one. Oh, okay. Okay, Joyce. I don't know that. Okay. Denise is asking, is the Shekhinah, the divine presence, innately more dominant in women? Absolutely. It's more dominant on a woman, the Shekhinah, the divine presence. And that's why, by the way, under the chuppah, a woman goes, the bride goes veiled, because the divine presence is so powerfully upon her that she's veiled. Yeah. Absolutely. Shekhinah is a feminine quality. It's the feminine quality of the divine, and it's expressed more so in women than it is in men. And both that men and women have male and female qualities, of course, as we have, biologically likewise. So the more we are expressing the female quality, the more the divine will be a place that can rest upon us. And that is the quality of being receptive, which is bittul, self-abnegation. It's not about me. And I'm a recipient of something greater than me. That, I believe, is also explains the idea of a woman bearing the child, of being a recipient of something, of being, because of the receptive female quality that allows her to be being receptive to the ultimate divine gift of a child. That's not going after something. That's being receptive for the thing, And think about it, ladies. If we're honest, a woman wants to be sought after. She doesn't want to have to go after. And that's good. That's not a negative thing. Women, in the early days of feminism. So what's her name say? No, Jewish feminist. I forgot her name now. No company. Betty Friedan, I think. I don't know if it was her. I don't remember. A woman needs a man just as much as a fish needs a bicycle. She retracted that afterwards, and she realized that's not true. That's not true. Absolutely not true. She has a son, by the way, that became religious or religious Jew. But in any case, the point is that men and women are different, and that difference is expressed here in how we explained of being the receptiveness for the divine. And that receptiveness is the concept of bittul, which is gevura, self-restraint, holding back, making space, the reverence of, and therefore that's how they can make space literally in a womb. It reflects that way. They make space because they are there in nurturing the home environment. That is all Shekhinah related, divine presence related, which is an awesome, beautiful thing. Does that resonate?
It's awesome and it's beautiful.
Thank you, Vilma. Okay, let me see. I think. Yeah. Oh, I do see Lara. How can we reach me for questions we might have outside of the lecture hours? Yeah, private message me. Okay. Tanya Rabbi. Tanya Rabbi, I think it is. I'm not mistaken. On Facebook, I guess, is a good place. All right, folks. I think that's it for it. We're going to continue this discussion tomorrow. And we'll have a lot more on this in the forthcoming chapters, but continuing this chapter tomorrow. All right, folks. If ever here on Clubhouse, you have a chance, you can follow and that way you can find out more what's going on of other things. We're going to have today, by the way, from 12 to 1:30 every day, we have myeshiva.ca. You can sign up and can join us on Zoom or on Chabad ZK Facebook page. We'll also have it on Clubhouse on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays when we study ethics, Jewish ethics from Pirkei Avot. Today I don't think it'll be on. We'll be doing another topic. And you're welcome to come and join us. If you private message me your email, then you can always find out more things that are happening. All right, folks. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine coming to you from Chabad Zechen Kadeshim in Montreal, Canada, where it's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. Thank you, folks.
Thank you, Rabbi. Shalom.
Thanks.